I made a big error trying to buy an error variant. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. So today's video is going to be a fun one because on the one hand, it's going to be an unboxing video where I have a very cool book to share with you guys that I recently picked up in my collection that I thought I was getting a really good deal on, but I made this really big mistake that actually may have cost me more money than I should have paid for this book. But maybe more importantly, and later on in the video, I want to get rid of all of my personal accountability for purchasing this comic book and actually do the thing that everybody loves to do in the comic book market, which is to blame CGC. And in this video, we're going to do just that. But of course, before I do it, if you guys could like, comment, subscribe, I appreciate it. Helps with the channel doing those things. But let us get into this video here today. Now, I already did a little bit of a pre-unbox just to make sure that the item was all good and ready to show in the video, and also to reduce the time it takes for me to get the book out of this. But this is a book that I picked up on CBB Auctions. You guys know CBB Auctions is an auction house in the Southern California area, great group of guys. And they recently had a sale where one of the lots they had was for a very interesting book that I actually find to be really cool and very rare. You don't see this book out there too often. It doesn't go up for sale much. And to me, being that this was a little bit of a smaller auction house, I thought to myself, looking up some of the recent comps, this might be a book that slips a little bit under the radar and to be one that I would love to be able to get. And without further ado, I'll show you guys the book first, and then we'll talk about why I think I might have overpaid for it. But this is actually Silver Surfer number 50, the error variants, where if you guys know this comic book, it is typically printed with this silver foil on it. It looks like a beautiful classic 90s shiny cover. But the particular error that we're talking about here today is when this book is printed without the foil on it, making it kind of a white Silver Surfer and white Silver Surfer title right there. And for that reason, in my opinion, this makes this book very, very collectible, especially considering that this was, from the Jim Starlin era where everybody was reading Silver Surfer at this time, and it would lead to the Infinity Gauntlet. So there's a lot of people that remember this book, and there's a lot of people that actually picked up this book. In fact, there was actually 3 printings of it. So everybody knows it, but not everybody knows that there's a rarity aspect to it, which is, the ones that were printed without the foil. And those tend to be, very, very valuable, at least for other comic books that are similar to it. Everybody knows the Venom Lethal Protector #1, where it got printed without the red foil, and that black variant cover is one of the most expensive Copper Age books that you can actually pick up. But anyways, I ended up getting this book for $330. It's a CGC 9.6 with a green label, which notates that it is manufactured without the silver foil on the cover. More on that in a minute. A very, very cool book to see. And in some ways, I do think that it is very undervalued. But let me take you guys through what mistake I actually made when purchasing this book and how it actually might relate to CGC and me actually blaming CGC for my mistake. Now, let me hop over to the actual sale of it. This is cbbauctions.com where they actually ran their auction. As you guys can see, I ended up winning it for $367. My apologies. I thought it was $330, but $367, which I thought was a really good price for this thing, especially considering before the auction, I went over to GPA analysis and I was looking up, Silver Surfer 50 and looking at the recent sales for manufacturing error. And so I looked over here and it said 9.8 manufacturing error for this actually sold in 2020 before the comic book boom for $1,300. And a 9.6 manufacturing error sold recently this year, a few months ago, for $1,500. So, being that the recent 9.6 manufacturing error sold for $1,500, I was thinking to myself, oh man, I'm going to win this book for $367. I'm going to have instantly $1,000 of equity. This is such a smart buy. Swaggle you are a freaking genius. But then I realized, wait a minute, this is on a 9.6 blue label. And if I go over to Go Collect, I can actually pull up the image of the book. And as you guys can see, it is the Silver Surfer 9.6 missing that silver foil in a CGC blue label. And all of a sudden I got a little bit of a panic attack because I was like, wait a minute, it's a blue label. And then I realized, oh no, I don't have the green qualified GPA sales checked as well. Let me check it and see if there's actually any sales. I know what you guys are thinking. You guys are thinking, well, Swag, obviously the book you bought was a green label. You should have thought about this. Well, I messed up, okay? I apologize. I totally forgot. And after I bought it for $367, I went over here, I checked the qualified thing, and I realized, oh no, there's a 9.8 manufactured error variant that sold for $600 in February of 2025. And sure enough, I scrolled down to the 9.6 manufacturing error, and what did I see? Well, in 2023, it was $100. In 2022, it was $121. And I thought to myself, Damn you, CGC, for breaking out the manufacturing error between blue labels and green labels. And I guess that kind of brings us to our first question about error variants and how they're actually notated within CGC and I guess in a larger degree on the census. What is the difference between manufacturer variants that are blue labels and green labels? I, for the most part, have not been able to figure it out thus far. I have no idea why they break it out this way, especially breaking it out within the same comic book itself, meaning like when there's an error variant that doesn't have the foil on it, you get green labels and blue labels at the same time for this. That makes no sense to me. Like, why would CGC actually do it this way? And so I went and did a little bit of digging and kind of hopped over to some other interesting variants. Shout out to the 99 Newsstand, who is very much into this world of rare printings and Mark Jewelers and variants and things of that nature. But he actually pointed me to the fact that the Spawn #1, which has kind of a misprint where it's missing the black ink on it. If you guys have ever seen this one, this is a very collectible Spawn issue. CGC denotes this in a green label where they say, manufactured without the black ink. But then he also points to, this right here, which is the Malibu Sun variant, where if you guys notice on the back of the Malibu Sun, it's also missing a certain kind of ink that went through the printer. And so you get this kind of green Spawn on the back of the book. But CGC puts this particular book in a blue label. And they do actually notate it as being an error edition as well. You guys can see from Manu's picture that this is what it's supposed to look like with the Spawn having its typical red color. But this sometimes the book would get the green edition printed on the back of it. But either way, they put this book in a blue CGC label. So CGC sometimes put stuff in green labels, sometimes put stuff in blue labels. All of them are error variants. As we all know, there's the Venom Lethal Protector black cover, which this one they usually put in a blue label, and they notate it right there, black cover printing error. And if I go over to the qualified versions and look up if there's any black error variants that have qualified labels, there was this one right here, but this one said cover married with another book. So it is the error variant, but this is actually justified in getting the green label. So I'm saying all that to say this. Why does CGC put this book in a green label when they have other examples of the book in a blue label? And how does that affect the value and the perception of that book being collectible or being something that people want to pay a premium on? I would want to bring this book over to CGC and request that they send it or they re-slab it in a blue label, because I think that that would increase the value. To me, it would make sense to do that. And I can actually point them to the recent sales of like, hey, look at this one, it's in a blue label. It's the same exact book as this one. Why is it in a green? And so I thought that that was super, super interesting, just overall as a conversation. And maybe this is just a book that hasn't caught the same amount of attention within the collecting market, like the Venom Lethal or even the Spawn books, which, obviously there's a bigger collector base that, pursues these error variants. So it's more notable. So maybe when CGC gets them in their doors, they just sort of know like, hey, we consider these to be very collectible. And this is something that we're going to put in a blue label. And maybe they just did the green one with Spawn 1 and they just kept it consistent. Whereas this book with Silver Surfer 50, they just haven't had enough books coming into their doors and haven't done it enough to where they can actually be consistent with how they actually want to notate it, which I suppose actually does suggest how rare it is to actually find this book. I went over to eBay looking for raw copies that had this error variant, and you just don't see them that often. They sell from time to time, and there maybe are a couple graded ones that are available on eBay, but it really is kind of a special rare book to find. Now, one thing I did want to share with you guys, a little bit of copium here. The 9.6s that did sell in the green label, I thought were not as cool as the one that I actually got, where this one right here in the green label has kind of like a half silver foil missing. You can see that the silver foil is on the surfer right there, and it's just missing in this one kind of circular spot, and then missing a little bit on the surfboard, whereas the one that I have is completely missing. So maybe it's not so bad after all. Maybe that's why this book sold for $121 in 2022, and I can actually get the $367 that I paid for my version of this book. In fact, obviously I can't get it because there was at least one other person that was willing to be the underbid of what I was paying for this book. But either way, that's kind of my video sharing with you guys my recent error variant pickup. I loved this Silver Surfer run. It was my favorite childhood run, next to Darkhawk, of course. But I absolutely loved, Steve Englehart on Silver Surfer. I loved the Jim Starlin run and Infinity Gauntlet on Silver Surfer. And when I caught wind of the error variance for this particular issue, I thought that this would be a really, really cool collectible to have. And even though I'm kind of just being playful with you guys about CGC's, error right here in terms of them labeling the book, I just do really wonder why they decide to do that. Put some books in the blue label and some books in the green label. And I leave it to you guys to maybe fill me in on that. Are there other interesting error variants that have been in a similar situation where you have books going in blue and green labels and they sell at very different prices? Does it make sense for CGC to do this? And are there other error variants that you guys are interested in collecting? Perhaps I can have an error variant expert come on the channel at some point. I have a lot of questions for them, and it would be a really interesting market to interview them on and maybe share with you guys some of their knowledge that they have in it. Because I do think that as people continue to collect and are looking for new and interesting comic books to pick up, the Mark Jewelers of the world, the newsstands, the error variants are definitely the thing that the collectors are most interested in. Anyways, that's all for this video. That was me sharing with you guys my new book. What do you guys think about the mixed labels with CGC? What do you guys think about this book? Why do you think that this book has not had the heat that the Venom Lethal one has had, or that the Spawn one has had? Do you think that this book is undervalued? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. See y'all in the next video.